Welcome back to Umbrella Rebellion. We are continuing our deep dive into IBLP's Men's Manual. If you are new here and you haven't seen any of the previous videos on this series, I encourage you to go back, whether you're on TikTok, YouTube, or on the podcast platforms, and catch up on all of the stuff we've covered prior to today. If you're not following us yet, we would love if you would subscribe or follow us on whatever platform you're listening to us on. We appreciate all the engagement, comments, likes, shares that y'all have been doing lately. It really is helping get the podcast out more. And we're being getting some really good feedback about this series. So we appreciate everyone that is supporting us. I did record this episode previously, but I wasn't really thrilled with the way my thoughts were a little scattered. I had some time to think about this one, and I think it's kind of fun to react to some of these without seeing them, but I think some of them may need a little bit more thought to them. We're just going to keep going at this until we figure out what works best for us. We are on question 17 in IBLP's Men's Manual. How can I understand what is really happening in this complex world? And again, we have this little exercise. Questions Bill Gothard thinks is relevant for him to tell us how we should think. How about that? There's my take on that one. So our next question in the series is number 10. Criminals are really victims of our society. True, false? If false, can you explain? And let's see what his answer is. His answer is false. Criminals are not the victims of social injustice. They are only demonstrating the basic sin nature, which is in every person who is not controlled by the power of Christ. The unregenerate heart is deceitful and wicked. Okay, so the verse that he is referring to is John 14, verse 6. Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. How does this refer to criminals and social injustice other than you can't be righteous without Jesus, right? That's his argument here. The way he proposes this question is just criminals are really victims of our society. It's the black and white thinking. There's only this way or that way. There is no in between. There's no nuance to any topics. There are no validity to anybody's concerns that there may be injustice in the criminal system and that there could be, I don't know, systemic racism in our justice system when it comes to Black people and people of color that are disproportionately represented in our prison populations. Our sentencing structures are disproportionately affecting Black people, people of color, Indigenous people. It has never been a fair game in our justice system. If you have money, you get off easier. The poor and disenfranchised and people of color have always been the ones that get the shit end of the deal when it comes to the justice system. I don't know how you can, even in 1979, when this was written, say that there is no social injustice at all when it comes to criminals. And then his whole argument that they are only demonstrating the basic sin nature, which is in every person who is not controlled by the power of Christ. So this goes to the argument that you cannot be a good person without Jesus, that you are going to commit heinous sins and violate people's rights if you do not have Jesus in your life, which we can see that that is not always the case. Every person that commits a crime is not void of God. We can see in our society that there are plenty of Christians that get caught up in the legal system. There are so many pastors and youth pastors that are constantly being in the news for abuse against minors. Being a Christian does not absolve you of a desire to do wrong. I mean, that's what IBLB tries to teach, is that if you have Jesus, that you are washed new. And that is fundamentalist Christianity in a nutshell, is that once you have Jesus, you will have a reason to do right things and you'll have the tools to not be tempted or resist the temptation and all of that stuff. But when it comes down to it, Christians commit crimes too. People who are not Christian aren't just willy-nilly going out there and violating people's rights and murdering and robbing and forcing themselves on people. It happens, yeah, but I don't see Jesus being the reason people aren't doing it. I see people using Jesus as an excuse to prey on vulnerable people, like Bill Gothard preyed on vulnerable people to get in his cult. The last video on TikTok, somebody made a comment about this being grooming. And I agree. I think in one of the podcast episodes, I'm going to have to go find that and see where I had said it. But I'm pretty sure that I had said previously that these materials were essentially grooming manuals on preparing people to be subjected to abuse. There's a whole system set up of distrusting outside sources, distrusting people in general, especially women and children, and black and white thinking. And there's only one truth, and there can't be any nuance to any topic that maybe could be true. Like two things can be true at once kind of situation. That was not ever a possibility in IBLP or IFB in general. Hopefully my rambling makes more sense to me this time. If you are enjoying this series, I would really appreciate it if you left a comment and let us know. Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart. If you know somebody that might benefit from these episodes, please share them out. And with that, I will end this episode. If somebody has not told you today or ever, I am proud of you.